Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Pappy Hour.
Welcome.
We're going to talk about a really special place today that is special and dear to Jessica and I and our entire family, and it is Lake Tahoe.
Repping my hoodie here, Lake Tahoe.
This is going to be a tough one because there is so many facts about Tahoe.
I can't believe we've done 12 episodes.
Episode 12.
Yeah, that's
a
crazy.
dozen in the can.
I know, a dozen episodes. So thanks for anyone who is still listening.
Starting to listen.
You know, we don't do this for viewership. We don't do this for numbers. We do this to have good conversations that are locked in our family vault forever. So our family in 100 years can listen in and know what was going on in 2024. So Happy New Year.
They could be living in Lake Tahoe or on the moon or Mars.
Mars.
Yeah, Mars.
Okay,
we're not talking about Mars. We're talking about Lake Tahoe. Okay, interesting lake. I grew up going to Tahoe since I was a small child. Jessica,
as native San Joseans.
Yes, we traveled the 4 to 5 hour drive from San Jose to Lake Tahoe. And in 1990, the Earnshaw family was able to purchase a piece of land there and build a really neat house.
Yeah, little cabin in Dollar Point, North Shore, Lake Tahoe. And your dad and mom decided to build that, and it stayed in our family until, when did we sell it?
2018.
2018, and that was a hard one to part with. So many good memories. We'd go up in there a few times in the winter, a few times in the summer, anytime we were passing through or I had a lot of softball tournaments in Tahoe.
Yeah.
So we would always hit the cabin then, and just, I mean, before I was born, you had a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, we have two generations of good memories
in my life. Amazing memories. And that was a rough one when we had to let her go. But for good reason, we had to let her go to move down to San Diego and buy this house. So it all worked out for a reason.
Yeah. So Tahoe was a special place for me growing up. There was nothing like summer trips to Tahoe. I grew up snow skiing.
When's the first time you went to Tahoe? Because they didn't build that house until you were in college.
Yeah, but we grew up going there. I really started to make a lot of trips to Tahoe, I'd say around like 6th grade, 7th grade.
Middle and high school.
Yeah, we'd go up for the summer. We had a boat, so we would go up there and go water skiing on Lake Tahoe.
That's where you did all your skiing.
Yep. And then we'd go up in the wintertime and we started snow skiing. And I went up there a lot during my high school years. And then I attended Chico State in 1988. And it was only 2.5 hours from Chico to North Shore, Tahoe.
Was that a big reason why you were like, oh yeah, heck yeah, Chico?
It was somewhat reason. It was close to Tahoe.
Yeah.
But it was nice when we were up there. It was a big place for the group of friends I was hanging out with. We had some shenanigans. Yeah, we used to stay in a little beater cabin. This one guy that we knew in Chico, his parents owned 2 cabins, a nice cabin. They were pretty wealthy. And then a beater ski lodge in Squaw Valley.
Like on the mountain?
No, down on the inside Squaw Valley, but down a little bit off the mountain. But it was a free for all. You'd go there, you know who was there, where you'd stay, sleep on a couch. I remember one year the snow was so heavy, we would climb on the roof and jump off, as it was a 2nd-story house, jump off like 10 feet off the roof into the powder snow.
Sounds quite 1980s like.
Yes, it was a free for all. Just how we liked it. And then the other thing we would do that I probably never told you.
Oh God.
We would go to the parking lot of Squaw Valley when it was snowing at like midnight. And we would take our 4-wheel drive trucks out there and spin donuts in the snow and the ice, just like be driving 30 miles an hour and pull the e-brake and just spin around and loop around because it was this huge parking lot and no one was there.
And it was just icy.
It was icy and snowy, and we had a ball there. There was a lot of fun things we did up in Tahoe.
Wonder if anyone does that now. They got that thing locked down now.
Oh yeah, there's no fun like that to be had. It's all
that's
shenanigans.
Cool. That's cool that you got to experience that. I had some shenanigans myself in Lake Tahoe, my friends.
Yeah.
Which I won't get into, but
we're going to get into some facts about Tahoe because it really is a fascinating place. It's a
very
extremely unique place.
Yeah, very unique.
So
one of California's gems. We
It
talked
is.
last episode about Catalina, another gem
Another
of
gem.
California. But I mean, between Lake Tahoe, Yosemite, Catalina, Joshua Tree,
But like Yosemite's too controlled. Like
the
you go
redwood.
in.
I'm talking about natural wonders.
Yeah.
No people involved. The redwood forest, Santa Cruz. Just California is the most beautiful state.
Yeah. But Tahoe
Argue
is
with
so
me.
big. There's so many different things to do
And Lake
that
Tahoe is its own thing in and of itself.
it's its own region. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the Tahoe Basin. All right.
Get into
Where do
it.
you want to start?
Well,
Let's start 2 million years ago.
oh,
Okay. So about 2 million years ago, there's 2 rift zones.
so we're
okay?
starting with kind of the geologic
Well, yeah.
formation of it. We're
A lot of-
going way back.
A lot of people don't know. How did that big bowl that's that size, that is the largest lake, it is the largest lake in the continental United States behind the Great Lakes. So the 5 Great Lakes, Tahoe's 6 for volume of water. So that's a feat. I mean, the Great Lakes are like the size of states.
Yeah, just the scale of it, and the scale of the earth. It's massive, and
Yeah.
it's a circle, big giant circle.
Big giant circle. So a lot of people that that would think would be Tahoe would be a collapsed volcano. Like there was a volcano and then it collapsed and it made a lake.
Well, that's a crater, right?
That's crater, like Crater Lake. A lot of lakes are formed that way from an ancient volcano that turned into a high alpine lake.
Well, how does a volcano collapse? It's so hot that it just melts inward.
Yeah. All the magma spews out of it, leaving an empty cone, and then that cone then collapses and makes for a crater.
Because now it's empty inside, you can't hold the weight.
Sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But that's not Tahoe.
Shaking up a bottle of champagne, open it up, it all blows out, and you have a void. And that's what then collapses into the crater. But that's not how Tahoe formed. So about 2 million years ago, there was the Sierra Nevada mountains on the west side, and the Carson Ridge Mountains on the east side. And they were slipping. So they slipped and they, grazed each other, and they came up as they slipped by each other as 2 major rift zones. Okay, it's like 2 plates. It's like plate tectonics.
Yeah, 2 tectonic plates.
Yep, 2 plates. So one's going north, one's going south, and they're scraping by, and at the same time they're building those ridges, and then the middle of it fell out. The middle of it collapsed, and the collapse of it
the 2 ridges were sliding north-south, created one big giant ridge, and then that caved in on itself?
Yeah, and that formed the Tahoe Basin. And there is a fact about that I'll get to, but it's something, as they were forming, then the middle was this fracture zone, and it just collapsed.
Well, it's just
so because of that, we have the Tahoe Basin. It's the whole Tahoe Basin.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think about how, nowadays when we have an earthquake, the earth moves an inch.
Mhm.
And you think about how vast all those swaths of land are. It's hundreds and thousands of miles of land that has come up and come down, and it makes time on Earth seem extremely short.
So that rift zone is still...
How all that was created inch by inch.
Yeah, it's still moving.
Yeah.
Half an inch a year.
Yeah, our whole Earth is still moving.
Half an inch a year, Tahoe Basin. So it created this huge void, and it filled with about half of the water in Tahoe comes from surface, meaning the snow and the rain down on it, and about half of it comes from the surrounding mountains that drain down on it. Okay, so about 50-50.
So it's not the highest elevation.
What's not the highest elevation?
Well, like the lake isn't the highest. Like there's more mountains above it that drain into it.
There is like 7 peaks around Tahoe that are over 10,000 feet. And Tahoe sits at 6,245 feet. 6,225 feet.
Yeah.
So it's up there. 6,000.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Denver's what, like
a mile high stadium, so 5,200 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Whitney is 14,000 feet.
14,500 and something feet.
And Whitney is the highest peak in continental United States. So
Yes.
the Sierra Nevadas are
We're not talking about Whitney. We're talking about
Shout
Tahoe
outs
here.
also to Sierra Nevada. If you want to sponsor us,
Oh, we're talking about the Sierra
we'll
Nevadas.
gladly.
Would you look at that, Sierra Nevada?
Yeah, Sierra Nevada on the cup for those who are just listening. But
Okay, let's talk the stats because it really is a mammoth hole of water. It's not only 22 miles long and 12 miles wide. All right, just 22 miles by 12 miles for a lake. Going back, it's the second deepest lake also in the United States. It is 1,645 feet deep, 1,645 feet in depth on a lake. The average depth of the lake is over 1,000 feet.
So it just drops off right away.
It's a pit.
That's crazy.
There was, they found that the water is so cold and so deep that they found a scuba diver who disappeared. 17 years later, after he disappeared, they found him in 300 feet of water, and he was perfectly preserved, just like he drowned last week.
Yesterday.
17 years, completely preserved, sitting at 300 feet of water. It was a bad dive for him.
Oh, yeah, that's sad. Well, I imagine. Well, not that I imagine. I was told growing up. You hear that that's where the mob people from San Francisco go to dump the bodies because.
Well, not just the mob
deep.
people from San Francisco, the mob people from all the casinos. You got to remember, it's state line of both North Shore and South Shore are filled with casinos. So if you were
owed some money,
if you owed some money to the wrong people and kept borrowing and didn't pay, you might be on the short rope and the deep side of Lake Tahoe.
But that actually wouldn't be a good idea because the bodies are so preserved. So it's not like they would.
But no one's going down there to get them.
Well, how did they find the scuba diver?
Well, it was 300 feet and someone else was doing some kind of dive. I don't know if you can dive 300 feet in Tahoe, but
that's a long way.
Yeah, they were doing something and they got a snag and maybe they brought him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
A snag.
Caught a snag.
So
1,645 feet deep. Is it the first deepest lake in the United States?
No.
The second. Only second to Crater Lake that comes in just shy of 2,000 feet deep.
So it's really not far behind.
It's not far behind. And Crater Lake really is just a volcanic crater.
So that's obviously more depth because the volcano had more depth.
And it's a lot smaller. Crater Lake is real small.
Yeah.
You could walk around it in an afternoon.
So does Tahoe, volume-wise, hold the most liquid?
It holds absolutely the most liquid. You want to talk how much liquid it holds?
How much liquid, Dad?
Wow, it's crazy. Okay, so it's the largest volume of water after the 5 Great Lakes. And, about the deepest, it's the 17th deepest lake in the entire world.
17th?
17th deepest lake in the
Where
entire world.
Where are all the deep lakes? If that's the deepest one of the deepest in North America.
The Russians have some deep lakes in there.
Oh, yeah.
17th deepest. Okay, so just finishing up the size, 72 miles of shoreline.
Yeah.
And 191 square miles.
191.
Yeah, that's bigger than the city of San Diego. That's huge. Yeah. 191 square miles.
Yeah, just the sheer area it covers.
Okay. So the amount of water.
Has someone ever swam across that? Oh, I'm sure they have.
Is the amount of water. I got the amount of water. Got my little trusty little notepad here.
Tristan, can you look that up at our producer? Has anyone ever swam across Lake Tahoe, like long-wise?
Absolutely. The first guy swam across it in 1962 and 1958. And the first woman swam the distance, the 22 miles, in 1965 or something after the Olympics. But there hasn't been a lot of people.
How far wide is it?
It's 12 miles wide.
I think I could.
In 22 miles.
I couldn't swim 12 miles.
You think you can swim? The girl walks 32 miles in a day, and all of a sudden she thinks she can swim 12 miles.
I mean, I never thought I would walk 33 miles in one day, so I bet I could paddle it.
But you did that.
I bet I could paddle it.
So the formation.
In a kayak.
So
I would be real sore. Or maybe paddleboard it would be easier.
Oh God, I wrote down so many crazy things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Tahoe, hashtag Keep Tahoe Blue, repping with your shirt there.
Oh, how many million acre feet? Keep Tahoe Blue is a bumper sticker you see all over, and that's why I wore this great blue shirt.
And I'm also sporting Lake Tahoe. This is from Abercrombie. It's the world's most comfortable
Oh,
sweatshirt.
there it is. It's
So
right in
I'm
front of
kind of a
me.
sweatshirt enthusiast. So
Okay, the capacity is 122 million acre feet.
acre feet.
So what's an acre foot? So an acre foot is enough water to cover 1 acre of land, 1 foot
foot.
in depth.
Interesting.
122 million acre feet. It's a lot. So
Yeah.
just in comparison, when you were growing up in San Jose, the dams there, like Anderson Reservoir, which was our biggest dam, I believe held 90,000 acre feet. And Calero was like 20,000. Lexington and Calero were like 20,000 acre feet. And this is 122 million. It's just
Kind of off topic, but similar topic. I just read a fun fact yesterday. Not very fun. That 94 people died building the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, that's a lot of people die building a dam.
I just want to intermit my stat.
Yeah, with Pappy Hour, what happens is Jessica has things that pop into her head, and she has to get them off her chest. She has to just it can be on topic, off topic,
I
a
wonder
topic we're never going to talk about.
where I get such a personality trait.
Okay, so we talked about the formation. We talked about the size, that it's mammoth. It's got 122 million acre feet. Let's talk about the shoreline is 2/3 in California, 1/3 in Nevada.
Okay.
So it's one of the only lakes, one of a few lakes that straddle. It makes up a border.
Okay, here's a very on-topic question.
Okay.
Why would they create a border through a middle of a lake?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Lake Tahoe was used for a lot of transportation during, and it kind of missed the gold rush. Everybody think, oh, Tahoe is so close to Auburn and Nevada City and all
Only
that.
people who came through there were the Donners.
Yes. So when people were coming for the gold rush, remember the gold rush episode
I think it was
9, the gold rush, but half a third came, no, was it half came around by ship and then half came by land, but they were coming either the Oregon Trail or the California Trail, and that went through Reno and then over the pass. So they were only 25 miles to the north, but there was nothing in Lake Tahoe. So there's no need for people to like, hey, we're traveling. We're in Reno. We got to get to the gold rush. Let's stop by Tahoe for a long weekend. It's just, they didn't do that. So Tahoe missed the, being crushed by the gold rush. However, 10 years later, which is our topic for the next episode, we'll be talking about the Comstock lode and the discovery of silver in and around Virginia City, Nevada. So Tahoe got blasted by the mining of Virginia City. And we'll get into that.
What do you mean blasted?
Like, I'm going to get into that a little later because I have a pretty good story about the whole thing, what happened. So,
okay. So Tahoe is pretty preserved as a community because it wasn't right on any of the main trails.
Until 1858.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very unique in a way that it's fed by 63 tributaries. So 63, there's no major rivers. It's mostly streams, but 63 streams dump out of the Tahoe Basin, run out of the Tahoe Basin and flow into Tahoe. 63. It's a lot of streams. There's only one outlet.
Truckee River.
Truckee River. You remember tubing there when you were a little kid?
Oh my God.
On the river?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot actually because Vanessa and I are leaving for Costa Rica in a couple of days. And one of the first things we're doing when we get to Costa Rica is river rafting on the Tenorio River. And the only river rafting experience I have in my life is on the Truckee, which...
Wow, I think this is going to be... You're going to go like you're going from a class 0.5 to like a class 4.
Yeah. No, yeah, we have to wear helmets, like, and life vests and...
Yeah.
Want to yellow?
Yeah, yellow. I mean, Vanessa was really excited because she's gone river. The only experience I have is the Truckee River, which was a trickle.
Yeah.
I mean, we would get out and have to tow the boat because it was so...
Yeah, we get hung up on the gravel and it'd be time to tow. The Truckee River is a great river. It runs out of Tahoe City. It runs out of a dam. That's the only dam. It's an 18-foot high dam.
Pretty
big
small.
one, very small dam, 18-foot high. And this is the crazy thing when you talk about volume of Lake Tahoe with the 122 million acre feet, that it's at flood stage at 6229. The lake's average is 6225. The low is 6223 and the high is 6229.
So it doesn't fluctuate at all.
It fluctuates 6 feet.
Yeah, so they don't have any real problems with flooding ever, typically.
Well, they did. The last flood was 1997 when a Pineapple Express really warm storm rolled through in March and melted all the snow, and it inundated the Truckee River. It crested at the 6229. It spilled over the dam, and it sent a flood of water going down the Truckee River, and it flooded Reno. It flooded Truckee, but it really flooded Reno, Nevada.
Where is Reno in relation to Tahoe?
Reno is southeast by about, as a crow flies from Tahoe, I believe it's about 40 to 45 miles southeast. It's over the Carson
But doesn't
Pass.
the Truckee River flow out of the northwest portion of the lake?
A good question. So it flows from the northwest. It travels northwest all the way to Truckee, and then it hangs a big right turn, and it goes eastbound. And you think it's going back over the mountain, but the Donner Pass is up to your west, and then it trickles down due east into Reno, northeast, kind of a northeast pass into Reno.
Oh, so it goes left and then right back down out. It doesn't float into California.
Yes, geographers don't like to say lefts and rights, so it does go west and then it turns east.
Okay. But it doesn't flow west into California and meet up with the American River or...
No, how's it getting over the Donner Pass? Think there's a pump station?
That's a really good question.
It flows downhill. Where does it flow to?
Flows south.
So it flows through Reno, and it flows, the Truckee River is 121 miles long, and it dumps out into Lake Pyramid.
Where's that? In the middle of Nevada somewhere?
North of Reno.
Okay.
So then it kind of hits Reno, then it goes north, and it goes into Pyramid Lake, which...
I always assumed it just flowed straight into the Bay Area.
No, maybe other people assume that, but
I never really thought about the path of the Truckee River.
So listen, when you drive to Tahoe, what do? You drive over Donner Pass, you get up to the summit, you come down on Tahoe, and that's a lower elevation. So it's not going back over the mountain. It has to go east. So it flows east. And Pyramid Lake, interestingly enough, has no outlets. So the water just goes there. So that lake can fluctuate. It could flood on good years, and it could be, hundreds of feet evaporated in dry years.
Well, it'll be interesting to see in the future weather cycles. We've had a really couple of heavy El Nino years. So it'll be interesting to see how hot the summers are and if any flooding comes in the future.
Yeah. They say Tahoe, the north side of the west side of Tahoe, so the Sierra Nevadas, gets about, on average, 50 inches of snow a year. Do you know last year what the snowfall was at the top of Squaw Valley was over 500 inches.
They normally get 50?
Yes. So last year's snow was 10 times the normal. It was a record year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, someone just passed away at Squaw because of an avalanche because there's just so much snow.
It got a quick dump, and they did have an avalanche. And,
crazy.
That was too bad. Okay, so we talked about the rim of only being a 6-foot difference. That's just crazy because you can go to Lake Shasta and it's like, hey, the lake's down 110 feet. Oh, it's up 72 feet. It fluctuates really quickly because the volume of water isn't there. So it just shows you the volume of water 6 feet from low to high.
Yeah.
The Carson Range. Okay, there's 3 faults in Tahoe. There's 3 active faults right now. One in South Lake, one in North Lake, and I knew that because one runs through Dollar Point where our old cabin was.
Oh, really?
That's literally right on the fault line. And we did have an earthquake there. I believe it was in the 90s where some things got knocked over. It was a pretty good shaker. I think it was like a 5.0 or something.
Well, that house has been through it. One time we weren't there, but a bear literally broke through our front window pane
Yes.
door and decided to hang out in our house for a while. And
No, he didn't get
he didn't get in?
he didn't get in, Jessica.
Oh, okay.
Jessica's taking the story. A bear broke a window, but he didn't go in there and hang out on the couch and
I could have
open up the
sworn. No,
refrigerator.
I knew he didn't I know nothing like broke or anything. I thought he got into the foyer
No,
and then came out.
no, he didn't come through the door. He broke the side glass window of that was next to the front door, and he broke that window.
Could you imagine you're sitting
And
there?
then, yeah, that
Girl, I'm coming. Crash.
yeah, it would have been pretty scary. But those are
Did you
black
have a
bears.
plan?
Do I have a plan?
Did you have a plan if a bear came around in Tahoe with 2 young children?
I was just gonna start throwing ding dongs and ham sandwiches at him and see if I could.
He would come closer.
Get him some frozen chicken nuggets.
He
whatever.
would stay.
I'll just try to feed him.
You want to ward him off.
Okay, so if that happened when we were up there and you were little kids, I would have had you get your video camera, and I would have snuck outside and snuck up on him and tased him.
Just hand-to-hand combat with a bear.
No,
Best idea.
yeah,
Well,
go bear girls on him.
Black bears are still dangerous.
Black bears are big, fat, hungry Labradors. This
Well,
one just decided.
Okay, it
he wanted
depends
to-
where you are if you are a black bear, because there's harsher conditions and they're aggressive depending on the environment.
Yeah,
The ones in
I don't
Tahoe
believe there's
just-
been anybody attacked by a black bear in Tahoe.
The Tahoe black bears just rummage through garbage. And,
All they want to do is eat. They're
yeah.
just super hungry, and for some reason, but it was odd for this black bear to saunter up on an empty cabin and decide he wanted to break in. He must have, I don't know, he must have left a turkey leg in the refrigerator or something.
He just wanted to hang out.
Pack of ham, old ham sandwich.
That is so crazy.
So, Jessica, give me one of your great memories of just being out in the snow in Tahoe.
I mean, I remember some pretty big storms when we were there. Like
I remember snow a lot.
I remember going up and you being like, I don't know, we're gonna be able to get home. It's snowing like crazy.
Yeah,
And we had, a big truck, and I remember you always pointing out how cold it was.
yeah.
But I have one memory of eating s'mores by the fire and just being covered in sticky goodness, hopped up on
Inside
sugar.
s'mores.
Inside s'mores, and so many good family memories there.
We always had a big fire roaring inside, big
Yeah.
rock fireplace in the house.
It was very cozy, and yeah, God, good memories.
Talking how cold, the coldest recorded day in Tahoe is minus 16 degrees.
What's freezing?
Yeah.
32?
32. Yeah.
Minus
So
32.
that was 1972.
No, what's the coldest it goes?
Well, you can go minus
Isn't it
whatever you want.
64 is the coldest? Or
No,
like
I mean,
164 or something?
no, I mean, 32 Fahrenheit is freezing.
Yeah.
0 Celsius is freezing.
Yeah, so what's 0 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
What is 0 Celsius in Fahrenheit? 32 degrees.
Oh, okay.
So the
I'm good.
coldest day was minus 16 Fahrenheit. So that's a pretty cold day.
Yeah.
But not like Midwest records. I mean, there's places that, go to North Dakota, it could be minus 45 or something.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time we were skiing at Alpine,
Okay.
and I just got absolutely clipped by some guy coming down, and you went off on him. And
Oh, yeah.
So-
An old grouchy man ran you over.
I was like
and-
5, and he just absolutely
Yeah.
took me out.
Yeah.
Could have been on.
Yeah. You always could run into some old grouchy men skiing.
Oh, yeah. No, he took me out, and you were like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
And stood up for
Yeah.
me. And
He was probably lucky I was with my child and not with college buddies.
You
'cause
contained
he
it, but-
probably wouldn't have fared the
but
same.
I remember you sticking up for me and protecting me very nicely.
Of course.
So,
Always been your
but I
pussy
remember
bear.
also being scared because you and Mom would shred. Like I remember. Okay, my dad doesn't really run or lift, but he will ski circles around you. That was one thing. You're not a super athletic guy. You have really good cardio because you walked 20,000 plus steps every day for
But
30
fat guys
years.
can ski. Fat guys can ski.
But you absolutely shredded. I remember you would, and I would be like, I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old going down the mountain with you. Like, you
Yeah.
guys taught me how to ski.
And I never had any ski lessons, but what I did have is I had a couple buddies. One of them was Kevin, his parents owned the Squaw Valley house because we'd go skiing, and he was like professional level skier, grew up on the Squaw Valley race team as
So
a
he
little
gave you
kid.
pointers.
Oh yeah, I did. He taught
And
me.
the people you ski with, you
Mhm.
better adjust quick.
Yeah.
So you kind of,
So I was
he
used to
elevated
skiing-
your level.
Yeah, before college. Well, I got better in high school going with another friend that was that grew up again, ski racing. So I got pretty good. But then when I got to college, these guys would go to Squaw and you wouldn't even look at any run except going to the very top, all the way up to Siberia. So you got in the gondola.
Just to the top, please.
Just all the way to the top, and then you got to the top summit. I'm not the top base camp.
Siberia.
And then just get on the Siberia quad chair all the way up to the cornices. And these guys I wouldn't go. I would ski because it was already an expert run, right?
It's
it was
already Black Diamond up there.
Literally downhill. And Black Diamonds at Squaw Valley were like double and triple Black Diamonds at a lot of other ski resorts. They had the hardest runs. And these guys would take off their skis and they would hike up to the cornice and they would carve it out
to the ridge,
up to the left of Siberia, and they would launch off there. And I had a camera, so I tried to get pictures, and I think one time I had my video camera,
an 80s GoPro.
Yeah, and they would the 7-pound video camera.
Where did you put that thing?
I don't know. I think I took it in a backpack one time. But I got these guys skiing down, and I went a little bit, but they went to like the main drop-in cornice.
You can't go any higher.
Guys, yeah, it was insane. So I
Yeah,
skied around some really, really tough skiers.
I've been stuck on a few hairy runs where I'm like, what am I doing? But you and Mom were always very, very good teachers. We also skied with some family friends who were very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't skied in a while because me and Vanessa like to schedule races for January. So I'm always too tired after and not wanting to hurt myself before. I haven't been in a couple of years.
We're due. We're here in San Diego, so we no longer can drive to Tahoe.
I know.
But it's a hour flight to Reno. Rent a car. We'll be in Tahoe in under 4 hours. So we need to do that.
That would be a good trip.
Okay, I got a couple other just facts about the earthquakes because I think this is a really interesting one. There's three faults, active faults, not old faults, but active faults in Tahoe. The last major earthquake in Tahoe was between 41 and 4,500 years ago. So over 4,000 years ago.
What do you mean major?
Big shaker, like a 9. I mean,
like 7+?
Where stuff visually moves. Yeah. Okay. So, and on that fault line, the average earthquake through history was every 3,000 years. So right now, Tahoe is on a little borrowed time. They could have a major shaker in North Shore, South Shore.
Isn't everything on borrowed time? Like, isn't Yellowstone due?
Oh, Yellowstone's overdue.
Isn't Tahoe due? Like,
but
geez.
Tahoe's not a volcano, so it's going to be a 30-second event, and it'll be all over, and you clean up the mess. But
just get out
somewhere
of the way.
in Tahoe is gonna do a little slipping because those rift zones are like
built
I said, we're moving
pressure.
and they're moving a half an inch a year. So something is going to move.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the volcano, there was a volcano in Tahoe. There was a volcano. It was Mount Pluto, and it was on the North Shore. And after an eruption, it formed a dam on the North Shore. So the Lake Tahoe always let's think of the Truckee River, but think of that as a whole valley. So the water kept running out. So it never filled up as a lake. It was like Yosemite, a big valley. So can you imagine where Yosemite's river runs out, that it was naturally plugged, and then all of Yosemite Valley became a lake? So that's kind of how Tahoe. So Tahoe was formed, it was like a basin.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a basin. It dropped down as the mountains on the east and west were rising. Then a volcano in around Tahoe City, around North Lake, erupted, and the flow of the lava made a natural dam, and that's what started to let the water fill up.
Gotcha. So that was the last bit that needed to be enclosed to make it a giant dome.
Yes.
Or not dome, a concave.
And then it started to fill up.
A big bowl.
Yep. And then the last ice age was 15,000 years ago. Was the last ice age.
I think it's approximately 12,800 years ago when a supposed asteroid hit the continent of Greenland.
Ooh.
And promptly melted the great ice caps in the North American continent.
Okay.
Subsequently flooded all the coastal cities.
And that was 12,800 years ago?
Approximately,
okay,
give or take.
So
wiped out all of the people, most of the people in the coastal cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically wiped out, a majority of the population. And since then we've rebuilt and revitalized
12,800 years?
Approximately. That explains why there's different versions of the flood in all ancient civilizations throughout the world.
Yeah.
Like the Olmecs in the South America
Man, that
have
might
a
be
flood story.
that might be a topic,
The
Jess.
Bible
Yeah.
obviously is the Great Flood.
12,008. So the 15,000 years ago was the last ice age. So the end of the ice age means all of those all those valleys up in Tahoe, you know, when you're skiing and you just see this rock formations, those were all formed by glaciers that then when the ice age ended, they pulled back.
Yep.
And they left that.
Yeah, ice is like the mold, and our soil is just like Play-Doh. And the ice just moved it all and formed it all. And when the great ice caps melted and this supposed asteroid hit, this is all just, you know, something I've read books on, but, you know, who obviously knows if this happened? It's fun to talk about.
Okay.
But
so we know the formation. It formed up. It started forming 15,000 years ago. Let's talk about the Native Americans that were there.
Yeah.
Okay. The Washoe Indians were there.
Washoe, Tahoe.
Well, Tahoe isn't the name, but it was a Washoe Indians.
Oh.
Yep.
How was Tahoe named?
Well, I'm going to tell you about Tahoe's name because it had a couple names. It went through it was a crazy story that I went down a rabbit hole and I'm like, man, this is like people are writing 50 pages on this battle.
Oh, really?
Between the name of Tahoe. But so the Washoe Indians were all around the whole Tahoe Basin. They used it. There was tons of fish. They used it to get around. You're right. You could now in a canoe. You know, when it was a rocky shoreline.
Tahoe's glassy in the morning too. Real easy travel.
So they could travel and trade. And they, you know, there was a lot of natural game there. The deer. There was tons of beavers, bears. So their hunting was good. Their fishing was good. It was really it was a big, it was a big settlement for the Indians there. And the Washoe, their biggest, there's a place in South Shore called Cave Rock. And Cave Rock was where they did all of their
art.
No, where they did
ceremonies.
It was their ceremonies, yeah,
spiritual things.
And there's not a carving; it's a natural formed side of Cave Rock, and it's like painted like a woman's face.
Oh,
so they thought it was divine and all this.
Oh,
and then in 1931, the great Department of Transportation blasted a hole right through Cave Rock, and that's where Highway 50 goes through.
What?
Yeah.
It's gone?
No, the rock's still there, but that's where Highway 50 leaves South Shore. And if you're driving along the Nevada line, it goes right through Cave Rock.
I blasted a hole through it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
The indigenous people weren't happy about that project.
No, I wouldn't be.
So they thrived for thousands of years in Tahoe and traded around and had a great life going. The first European to set foot touch the waters of Lake Tahoe was February 14th, 1844.
That's pretty late than I would have thought.
Yes, it's pretty late. 1844. There was, I mean, up and down the missions were built in 1775 to like 1785. So here's 1844.
No one ever got into Tahoe?
No one ever got into Tahoe. They say John Fremont led an expedition and he was the first European person to come upon Tahoe.
Mr. Fremont.
Mr. John Fremont,
California.
So, so Tahoe went through a lot of names. It wasn't it was officially named Lake Tahoe by Henry DeGroot, who was a map maker for the Sacramento Union paper. And he did that in 1862.
Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe. So before that, it was named Bigler Lake after the governor of California. But he was not in good with the Union. He was a Confederate. He was a Confederate sympathizer during the Civil War.
Oh.
So they weren't going to name a lake,
the most gorgeous lake ever,
after a Confederate that was obviously a Confederate sympathizer. He wasn't. He was governor earlier, like in maybe like 1846, 47.
That's so before California was even a state.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what.
So was he really?
Yeah, I'm not. That's an whole rabbit hole. But they named it Lake Bigler. They had some other names for it. And then this guy decided on Lake Tahoe, and it stuck. But Mark Twain, he did not like that it was called Lake Tahoe. And he said, a quote from Mark Twain, "Tahoe means grasshopper soup to the Washoe Indians," and I don't like that. So he kind of badgered that he thought it should be called Lake Bigler. And this goes all the way into the 1870s, 1880s that they kind of fought about the name. So
Tahoe means grasshopper soup?
it doesn't. It means, let's see.
Tristan, can
Yeah,
you
Mark Twain said that it meant grasshopper soup, but remember, Mark Twain wrote kind of tongue in cheek, and he had a lot of,
yeah,
you can't always believe what
euphemisms and analogy and all.
Yeah, the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right? So that's that kind of the spirit.
Allegory.
But in 1870, the California legislature reconfirmed that it was called Lake Bigler. So they didn't even like, the California legislature didn't even like that it was called Lake Tahoe. So through 1860s, 1870s, and it wasn't until, long after that, that they just, probably well into the 1880s, 1890s, did Tahoe really start to stick.
Well, I want to look up what it means.
Tahoe means water in a high place.
Very literal.
Water in a high place.
In what type of language?
In Washoe, the indigenous language of the Washoe Indians.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate. I like that name.
Yep. So John Fremont, so Tahoe, between the discovery of Tahoe by John Fremont, 1844, didn't do much until 1858. What happened in 1858?
They discovered silver.
Silver. They discovered gold, but then they discovered a whole bunch of silver in the Comstock lode in Virginia City.
Gold in 48. 48.
Silver in 58.
10 years apart.
Yeah. And in those days, silver and gold had almost an equal value.
Interesting.
And they were
what
both
about now?
Linked to the dollar. Oh, now they're 100 times apart.
Gold over silver, obviously.
Gold is $2,000 and silver is $23.
Wow.
Yes. So silver.
Why? Because there's just so much more silver?
I guess. Silver's remained just basically, $23 an ounce. I mean, it's,
silver coins.
Weed's worth more than silver. So at one time though, they were close. So, and we'll touch into that, on our next episode, because we're going to dive deep into Virginia City, because that plays such a part. So this is kind of a 2-part series of the Tahoe Basin. And then we're going to jump only 40 miles to the east to the Comstock lode and the discovery of silver in 1858.
It's kind of like our last 2-episode part where we did the Donner Party and the Gold Rush.
Yeah. I mean, this all ties. We're talking California history.
Yep.
And Sierra Nevada history.
You should know about the place that you live.
So what happens in 1858? They discover silver. What do you need to build a mine?
Mules.
Correct.
People.
What else do you need inside the mine? What do you shore up the mine with?
I don't know.
Timber.
Oh.
They weren't manufacturing steel beams, right? They weren't putting, so you need timber.
Oh, just to outline the shaft you go down to.
Yeah. So how you mine is you dig, and then so it doesn't fall in, you reinforce it with wood. So it kind of, you build yourself, basically you're like building a house inside, and that's what reinforces
the weight of the
shaft.
earth against a wood beam.
So you know what you need? Big timbers, and a lot of them. So unfortunately, between 1858 and 1890, the Tahoe Basin was almost 100% clear cut. There wasn't anything left.
How many acres was that?
It's the whole Tahoe Basin. Acres. I mean, if
what do you mean? So the lake was just surrounded by thick forest?
Yeah, it was timber from the top of Squaw and the top of Homewood and the top of Heavenly and the top of North Star, all completely.
So no big areas, vast areas like there are now.
And it was completely wooded, and they cleaned it out. It was barren land, moonscape. It was just rock.
Why did they need all those dang trees?
Well, they were mining silver, and that's all they cared about.
That's how many mines they cleared enough wood to clear out the Tahoe Basin?
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And we'll we'll talk more about that when we talk about Virginia City because
Reforestation.
of just the size. So yeah, so in the beginning of the 20th century, conservationists, Teddy Roosevelt was a big conservationist. That's when Yosemite became a national park. They wanted at one time to make Lake Tahoe Basin an entire national park.
Do you think that would have been a good idea?
Well,
what would that have changed?
It would have definitely dampened the economy of Northern California because there's a lot of economy between the ski resorts, the gambling, the hotels, and people having fun. So,
oh yeah, you can't put a casino in a national park.
No, it would have been more like how Yosemite's micromanaged. So I'm for the national parks we have.
Maybe it's a good thing Tahoe was left out.
Yeah, I mean, and good
let good old capitalism take its toll.
Yeah, it needed a little capitalism in there and good stewardship and conservation of the land.
Anyways,
so it turned around.
They both can coexist.
Yeah, and
there's a balance.
Who's the Ansel Adams? But who's the other big Yosemite guy?
I don't know. I always thought about Ansel Adams.
Who's the conservationist? We're drawing a blank on his name. But,
Tristan, would you?
Conservation of the, but that. So what happened was there was a movement, and they replanted those trees, right? And trees grew, and now you look in Tahoe, but it's like you look in Tahoe. There's no 500-year-old redwoods.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm just looking beyond Jessica. We got a nice guided missile frigate coming up the bay.
A frigate?
U.S. Navy at its finest. So they, but to look in Tahoe now and to go skiing and look at all the trees and think by 1890, there was nothing left. They just,
I know those trees grow for hundreds, probably 1,000-year old trees.
That was all.
And the silver mines had to come wipe them out. But at least there are still some remaining areas of California that have those beautiful landscapes, like the redwood forest.
And Virginia City is only
Gaylor Clark.
Dude. No, 15. Virginia City is only 15 miles east. 15 miles. Now it's over a big ridge, but 15.
How the crow flies?
Yeah, 15 miles east of Tahoe. So you can think, get your mule, 15 miles, haul in timber. And
get your mule.
And Mule Days, another episode. Shout out to Mule Days.
What a very interesting, because there are, obviously there's lots of room in Tahoe for suburbs, and the ski resorts are big, giant, open swaths of land with no trees, and giant, massive parking lots in cities and towns. And that's because all the trees are wiped out. So they were like, sweet, we can build a city.
Yeah, you think there's a lot of places without trees, and that's why they just haven't been, replanted. And but so the economy in Tahoe. Now we're talking the early 1900s. It was relatively little development, and it just was like some big mansions there. Like Emerald Bay was owned, and they built the big mansion called Viking's Home
on top of that little island in Emerald Bay that you can climb up to.
Well, that's a little tea house. That was a little tea house on top of the island in Emerald Bay, and then the big mansion was at the base.
Yeah, that was cool. In the summertime, when you're out on the lake, you can climb up to that little island in Emerald Bay.
Yeah,
there's like a little stone house.
You got to jump off your boat and swim in, though.
That's actually one of my earliest memories in Tahoe. I think I remember going there with you as a little kid and being like, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah, and we got the boat, and you jumped off, you swam in, and then you hiked up to
you were
a
like a pirate.
House. Yeah, you were like a pirate.
It's fun.
Yeah. So it developed, and then obviously everything slowed down till World War II. But one of the big booms was 1960.
Oh yeah,
Squaw Valley.
Like my sweatshirt.
Winter Olympics.
Winter Olympics. Yeah. So that means that the first 60 years of the 20th century, they were really opening ski resorts and promoting skiing as more of a sport and culture.
And that was one of the first ski resorts. There's now 12 world-class ski resorts in the Tahoe Basin.
Yeah. It's perfect for skiing. It's a big, giant bowl.
As long as the snow falls, it's all over there.
Sugar Bowl, North Star, Squaw, Alpine.
Yeah.
And Heavenly.
Squaw, they had to rename Squaw for PC reasons, and they renamed it Palisades. And that
Squaw's not called Squaw anymore?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's still Squaw to me because it's always going to be Squaw.
Breaking news.
Yeah, I'm not going to go change names because
Palisades now?
Yeah, you don't feel good.
When did that happen? I haven't been there in so many years.
I believe 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And they took over Alpine Meadows. So Squaw Valley and Alpine Meadows
Or one
are
big
now
resort.
called Palisades. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
we won't get into that because we don't want to
Yeah.
touch politically here, but
Yeah.
it is now called Palisades.
Interesting. All right.
So 12 ski resorts, the 60s, the Winter Olympics, and then things really boomed from 1960 till about 1980. In fact, 60, 70, 80. Yeah, within 20 years, the population grew from like 10,000 residents to 50,000 residents in those 20 years.
So now,
So South Lake Tahoe really had a big boom and grew.
what are the big resorts in South Lake Tahoe?
Heavenly, and then Kirkwood about 20 miles south.
Kirkwood. Okay.
25
Are there any
miles
that I
south.
missed?
And then going up Highway 50, there's a few resorts going up Highway 50.
Yeah.
Used to be called
Outside
Sierra
of
Ski
Tahoe.
Ranch. Yeah, down Highway 50.
Yeah.
on your
What's
way
the
to
real
Placerville.
crappy one you hit? That's the first one when you get there, coming from San Jose. What's that one? It's real cheap.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Donner. Well,
forget.
there's Donner, and then there's
Yeah.
Sugar Bowl's. Sugar Bowl's a good one. That's
Yeah, that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about like just a baby mountain that you hit on your way up. It's nothing compared to Palisades or Sugar
Boreal.
Bowl. Boreal.
Boreal, yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
Boreal. There's a couple of lifts.
I'd go there in high school because
Yeah.
it was real
Do
cheap.
you know where Boreal is? That's right next to where the Donner Party was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right at the
At the pass.
at the summit there, and then you go down, and then there's the Donner Party, and that's where they're big. It's only about 3 miles away from when the Donner Party
God,
hung out.
now that I've read the book and we've done an episode on the Donner Party, I would love to go back to Tahoe and see. I know they have a museum, and I know they have like some places you can go and see.
God, there's going to be a lot. We went over. Okay, so I want to go over one thing about Tahoe. About everybody, why is Tahoe so clear? Okay.
Oh.
And the clarity is really gone down. So do you know how they measure the clarity? So they drop a disc down. I think the disc maybe would obviously be on a line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for how long you can see that disc, when you can still make out that disc in the water, that's your clarity.
But do they do it by rate of clarity, or do they drop it down and measure the feet?
So you can see it. So with the human eye, I don't know, 3 people stand around, can you still see that disc?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how clear the water is. And at the clearest was 98 feet. So 100 feet of viz is an incredible amount. As a scuba diver, 10 feet of viz is horrible, and 30 feet is great, and oh my God, 60 feet of viz. So 98 feet of visibility.
And why is that? What is it about the water?
Well, that's a good question. So think about what drains into most lakes.
Is it because of the minerals?
Because mud drains in.
Yeah.
Okay. Down the Mississippi River. Go to any lake, go to Shasta or Oroville. What's that? That's taking out dirt and debris down into the lake, which clouds it. Well, Tahoe is rock and pebbles and sand. There's very little dirt growing around. So when the natural runoff comes down, there's no dirt to wash in there. It's just washing rock and sand.
Very interesting.
That's why it's clear. So
that's how in Emerald Bay it has that giant rock waterfall that empties down in there.
Yeah, it's rock, sand, and pebbles. So the clarity has gone down. It was its lowest level around like 2013, and that's why this big campaign, Keep Tahoe Blue, and because it was really going quickly degrading. It was losing like a foot a year, which was a huge number, right? Well, when you build, look at our cabin in Tahoe. So we left our cabin very natural. We never did we did very little planting, right? So our landscape, our little quarter acre we were on, it was pretty natural. But a lot of homes are built and then people put gardens in. So when it rains and it snows, what's the runoff?
Oh, so that's why they were.
You're introducing dirt into that.
But really, that little amount of dirt, or was it a lot of people building gardens and they were trying to farm?
50,000 people in there, and not farming, but I mean like planting lawn. Okay, like let's say you have a green lawn. That's not native to Tahoe.
Yeah.
So now you have a green lawn. What's underneath the green lawn?
Dirt.
A foot of dirt, 8 inches of dirt. So now that dirt washes away, and it just continually washing. So it's
overall development.
It's development and then cars, cars running over,
Trash, plastic
bringing, well, it's not so much the trash because the trash, a
gets picked up.
a plastic jug in there doesn't degrade the water. It's dirt. And then what happens also, the lake is heated up a little bit. It's not quite as cold. So warmer water isn't as clear as colder water.
Yeah.
But the good news, it got down to about 63 feet. So from 96 feet to 63 feet.
When it only fluctuates 9.
Not on the, no, we're talking the clarity.
Oh.
Okay, so the clarity was a 98 feet
Gotcha.
of visibility, and then it went down to 63 feet. In 2012, it started turning around because they did put a lot of restrictions. They kind of restricted, there wasn't as much building going on. They stopped giving open permits to build around the lake. So a lot of the big, massive $10 million mansions. I mean, you build a 10,000 square foot home on the lake, and you're going to put a lot of dirt into the ground.
Oh, the construction's going to be the foundation.
So that had kind of, they curved a little bit of that, and it's actually come back up to like 66, 67. So it's actually getting bluer again.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that Tahoe is inundated by rich people that come in from the Bay Area and surrounding areas. So a lot of the residents there are unhappy with, the rent prices, just like pretty much everywhere else in California and the country right now.
Yeah.
But that's too bad that they are hindered in development. I mean, they can find other places to build multifamily developments.
Yeah.
And multifamily housing, but it's probably a good thing that they put a squash. I mean, there's enough $10 million mansions around. Like there doesn't need to be any more beautiful homes right there around the lake.
Yeah. Tahoe has become, in 2024, it is a wealthy person's getaway.
Yeah.
If you're on a budget, tracking your 4 kids in your hatchback, and you're trying to get away for a small vacation, Tahoe's not your place to go.
It's hard to do that place cheap.
Everything's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, between the lift tickets and the rentals and the car and the gas and the clothes that you need and the food.
A family of 4 skiing is $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Easy. And that's not including your lodging and all that.
I know. That's the inconvenient part about the past few years. It's like, it's so dang expensive.
It's gotten really expensive.
Is it worth it to go? And then I'm sore for a week and, then I bust my wrist or whatever it is.
Okay, I want to tell you the beaver story.
Older people problems.
So because of, obviously, beavers thrive on making dams.
Mm-hmm.
And they live in dams, right? They live in little beaver huts. So when Tahoe was clear cut from 1858 to 1890, guess what disappeared? The beavers. And the beavers are vital to a lot of other things in the ecosystem because they dam up the little streams. So by damming up the streams, then the silt that would run off would fall at that dam. And then when it would get so high, it would run over. So where's all the mud? Kind of staying back a little bit. So without beaver dams, now all that mud is drained. So that was another thing that affected the clarity of the lake.
Why? Because everyone hunted the beavers?
Well, the beavers were probably hunted out because their fur is worth a lot of money. So that was turn of the century, a lot of that hunting going on. I'm sure when they were cleaning out the forest, someone that's clear cutting a forest, if they saw a beaver, I'm sure they're going to shoot it too. So the beavers disappeared. There was none. They were all gone.
No wood, no beavers.
And they didn't have anything to build a dam on and need to be there. So Did they migrate other places? I don't know the migration habits of the North American beaver. And that probably won't be an episode of Pappy Hour. But I find it an interesting story that in 1934, as the conservation effort had increased and, replanting Tahoe and bringing it back a little bit after the decimation of it, they reintroduced from 1934 to about 1948, 9 beavers.
Just 9?
Just 9. 9 little beavers. But let me tell you, those beavers got busy.
Busy as a beaver.
One way. Yeah, busy as a beaver. And they were building dams and making babies.
Aww.
And there is over 1,000 beavers. And this is a crazy, I tried to equate this fact, right? Because it's Pappy Hour and fact time, but there's 3.5 beavers per kilometer on the Truckee River. as of 2017, the last beaver count. Okay,
Beaver per
Beaver-
kilometer.
3.5 beavers per kilometer.
What a
So
ratio.
121 miles. So I just kind of figured, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm like, all right, was there hundreds of beavers? Like, wait, 3.5 per kilometer.
So
there's
3.5 beavers per, so they weren't all, it wasn't like a crazy inundation of them, but there's a
No,
lot.
they're perfectly spread out because beavers
Yeah.
do that. They like, okay, you got this side of the river, I got this side. You build your little beaver dam.
Get away from my dam.
So
You beaver,
and
quit
you
chucking
know-
my
woodchuck, quit chucking my wood. So beavers, and obviously they're not damming the Truckee River, but when we were river rafting, this is why I find this so fascinating. When we were river rafting, I would show you guys. I'd be like, girls, look, there's a little beaver dam, and they would
You'd
build.
be like, Kaylee,
Kaylee,
Jessica,
get in there, go get that beaver.
Jessica, go get that beaver.
But I mean, they don't dam the whole river across, but they dam part of it to then, and all this is good for flood control. It's good for fish spawn in this. It's all part of the ecosystem where, wow, beavers are not just a cute little mascot to a college. It's really a vital animal in a,
Thriving ecosystem.
yeah, in a mountain,
Forest range.
alpine. They call it an alpine. It would be classified as an alpine area.
Fascinating, Dad.
So there's thousands. So these little 9 beavers, thousands.
I'm
look
still
at
dead at beaver
look
per
at the-
kilometer.
3.5 beavers per kilometer. It's a lot of beaver tails. So the beaver story was good. Tahoe is just a magical place.
Yeah.
And if you can get up there and spend a little time,
I have a funny
We-
story I would like to share.
we like Tahoe City because South Lake is about 3/4 of the population resides in South Lake. The other quarter population resides around the entire rest of the lake.
Yeah.
So that's a big,
So South Lake's pretty populated.
Yeah,
But
big
it's more of a town, and they have, I know, like a big Walmart there. I did an appraisal in South Lake Tahoe one time. But I have a
Story, wrap it up.
funny story that I would like to tell to wrap this all up. So I was skiing. I was probably in first or second grade, so 6, 7 maybe.
just learning.
And it was wintertime, and we were up there with some friends. And I get on the little bunny green circle ski lift. And I don't know if you were around. I think I was
I
just
was around.
I didn't remember you
I'm not
really.
letting you ski it on your own at 6
Well, I'm
years
trying to
old.
remember if maybe I was taking a lesson.
Perhaps.
Like, I don't remember you being around, is what I'm saying.
I might have
think
been
I was.
shredding up top.
You were shredding. You left me back to my vices, which was not a good idea, leaving 7-year-old Jessica on the ski slopes. And so I'm on this lift, and we take off. And it was kind of rough. We take off, and I'm in the air, and I'm probably like 10 seconds out from just having hopped on this thing. And I slip my little butt off the front because I was moving around, and I slip and I fall, and I grab the side of the ski lift, and with one hand, I'm holding myself onto the ski lift,
It's dragging you uphill.
dangling off of the ski lift as it's dragging me further up the mountain.
Oh my-
Now I'm probably 30 feet off the ground. And I really don't understand how
Oh,
superhuman.
wait, this was a ski lift, not one of the butt toes?
No, a lift, a regular ski lift, like a little 2-person ski lift. It was kind of janky, but I'm holding onto this thing, and I really don't understand. I mean, now I try to do a pull up. My grip strength is nothing. Like, I don't understand how I held onto this thing, but I held on for the life of me. And I think I had my poles, and I dropped them, and I grabbed my other hand on, and I had these gloves on.
And were you
So
with
they-
the ski instructor?
No, I was with my friend. And
Who's your friend at 6?
Mackenzie Corsi.
You were
Cut that out.
okay, and you think you were 30 feet up in the air.
I swear to God, I was really high off the ground. But what happened is once I grabbed my other hand on, I'm yelling and I'm dangling. And they
came and grabbed
stopped
you.
the lift and they reversed it back like
Yeah.
very quickly. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't up there for long.
Okay, I
I was
remember
probably hanging on by my hands for 15 seconds maybe.
Yeah.
And they reversed me right back down, and I fell into the powder.
Yeah.
That was only like
you
5 or 6
were
feet up.
skiing by yourself. I remember who you were with a ski partner.
And I remember going, my parents are going to
And
freak out.
You were about 9 or 10 years old.
Was I older?
Yeah. But I wasn't there because I only heard the story. But yes, You fell off, and I don't think you were 30 feet in the air. It felt like you were 30 feet in
Because
the air.
I was, 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
But
So, you went up, you were 10 feet dangling, they reversed it back down.
yeah, it was
and-
pretty quick, but I was dangling for at least 10 seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
Dangling. Like, if I fall, I will literally die.
Yeah.
That's what I thought to myself.
I got one more story. I made it.
Anyways, I survived, people. It's just my
about
childhood.
15 years ago, I had a bright idea that I wanted to hike the Pacific Crest Trail from Highway 80 to Highway 50. And it was about 64 miles.
And how many days were you going to do
I was
it?
going to do it in 5 days. I was going to do it in 5 to 6 days.
That's ambitious.
And I made it 3 days. And I had altitude sickness. Well, I mean, I was doing okay, but
I don't mean to laugh.
what I did was I made the mistake of going from sea level to Tahoe the first night, and then the second night I was at 10,000 feet. So I didn't handle the altitude that
You
well,
didn't acclimate.
and I bugged out after 3 days. I made it 32 miles in 3 days.
So you made it halfway,
So-
over halfway.
I made it halfway. I didn't get all the way to Highway 50.
That's
so
a
I'm like,
pretty ambitious trip, though.
it was very ambitious. It looks a lot easier on paper because, like, when you look at a map, you're like, okay, that's good. It's a nice little trail there. The trail was brutal.
Uphill, downhill.
It was up. As soon as you went up, you went back down, and then to go back up again, the trail was a foot wide of just rock and gravel. There was
So
no
just steps the whole time.
it was crazy, but
Well, maybe now that you're in better hiking shape,
we could do Tahoe again.
we could potentially knock out a few portions of the Pacific Crest Trail.
Well, there's also the Tahoe Rim Trail.
Yeah.
So the Tahoe Rim goes, it was 71 miles of shoreline, so it's probably about 100
Ooh.
miles.
I think my new sights are set on Tahoe.
A 100-mile trip around the whole Tahoe Basin.
Now that we've circumnavigated the entire island of Catalina,
Yeah, we got to go something bigger and better.
we gotta
Not
really
better, but bigger.
get our butts into the Sierra Mountains.
Yeah.
Man, I love
right.
Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe.
Just as the sun was setting on my face
The
the whole
sun
time.
is just setting in San Diego, and that is
It's-
going to wrap up our version of Lake Tahoe. We hope you can all get up there and
Episode
enjoy
12,
Lake Tahoe.
go get out, enjoy the great outdoors.
And we're going to pick up next time with Virginia City. And
Yeah,
talk
try not to
some,
fall off any ski lifts, but thanks for listening to episode 12 at Sierra Nevada. If you're listening, if you are one of our 6 viewers, then we would really like a sponsorship deal. We love Sierra Nevada, clearly mountains and the beer.
I've given up on Tommy Bahama. Nothing. First 10 episodes. So as you can see today, I'm not wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt. I've given up on them.
Who are you
But I'll
sporting today?
never, ever, ever give up on Sierra Nevada.
No. We love you, Tommy.
All right. Adios.
See you later.